Well, let's bring it back to the studio. Treasurer General, who's also acting as the Secretary General of the organization, Paul Mashatile. Good evening to you, sir. Thanks for your time tonight.
Yes, thanks for inviting me, and good evening to the viewers.
It seemed to be off to a smooth start yesterday. One can recall going into the evening we had the commissions coming back quick and fast, at least the head of the commissions, to give feedback on what had been discussed and the tabling of the various reports. Our politics editor, Lucanyo Kalata, has just highlighted the fact that that hasn't been the case today. What's happening?
Well, let me start with yesterday. I think everything went smoothly. As you say, President gave a political overview. We gave credentials. They were adopted without delay. We got to the program, and the rules of conference, they were also adopted. Today, we are now going to the heart of the policy conference. That's where the delegates from branches must raise their views on all policies. Firstly, to review. Secondly, to decide whether those policies are still relevant. And thirdly, whether you need new policies. So that will take time because we are allowing all delegates to speak. We took a position that we should allow people to speak. They must not feel that they are being suppressed. But it's going well. It's not like they are fighting out there. It's just that many people want to speak. And, you know, the policy issues are not easy. You know, we have challenges of energy in this country. People are going to raise issues of land. There's issues of step-aside. There's issues of poverty, issues of women emancipation. Many speakers are speaking because we said to them, when we live here, we must have very clear plans of what is not working, what must be done going forward. So we are not happy just people must just come here and talk and talk. They must come with very clear plans going ahead. So let's allow them to speak.
Those commissions would have started at around 8, 9 o'clock this morning. It's now 5 o'clock. Are you saying between then and now there hasn't been any clear way forward in the various commissions that are dealing with the multiple issues of policy?
They were dealing with different issues.
Yes.
So what we did from 8:30 this morning, some started at 9, was to deal with the first set of commissions that were looking at the balance of forces, strategy and tactics, organizational renewal. Those were the first sets. What they are doing now, they are going to the sectors: economic transformation, education and health, social development, arts and culture. So it's sectoral ones now. Because what we want to do after dinner, we want to start with report backs, because tomorrow we don't have time. So the sectoral commissions must be done by 7 o'clock, so that we start with report backs between now and tomorrow lunchtime, because we want to close by lunchtime tomorrow. Delegates are traveling very far in their provinces. So the morning was a different set of questions that all of them were doing. Now all of them are now in sectoral commissions. They've now moved to look at different things.
Ahead of this conference, one of the analysis that was provided by the ANC in its discussion documents was where the party is, and this idea of the ANC facing an existential crisis and what the party needs to do in order to remain a party that is rooted to the masses, that can be seen as an agent of change in this country. How are you planning on doing that? Because you acknowledge this idea of being socially distanced. That's how you are describing it now as a country, socially distanced from the masses. And yet this is an organization that says we are rooted in communities.
We have acknowledged that weakness. So the issue of facing existential crisis is acknowledged. And then we then said, but what do we do? We then said, let's renew. Let's renew ourselves. And renewal means, amongst others, go back to the people, deal with the issues that they are facing. Secondly, ensure that those who come into the party are the right people. Ensure that when they are there, they deal decisively with corruption. They deal decisively with people the issues that affect the people on the ground. So we are busy now in the process of renewal as we move towards the December conference, so that the ANC can be different. The values of the ANC that people know, of cadres who are selfless, who are disciplined, cadres who prioritize the problems of the people, are the people who are there in the ANC.
The ANC can barely agree on what should happen when its members are implicated in corruption scandals. And you talk about renewal. Part of what the Step Aside resolution was supposed to do is be part of the journey of renewal. There isn't consensus about what should even happen to a policy of that nature. What does that mean realistically for the organization when you say we want members that are upstanding citizens of society? What happens to the current members who are part of the leadership of the ANC, who've been named, who've been fingered in corruption scandals, and the party seems to be in a state of paralysis, simply doesn't know what to do?
We are agreeing. There is consensus with Step Aside. Let me tell you where the problem is. There's not disagreement. The problem is that there's a perception that we are not consistent. There's a perception that people are targeted. There's a perception that Step Aside is implemented in a way that affects members' rights and branches. So people are saying, if I'm on Step Aside already, but branches are nominating me in a conference that is taking place, allow that to happen. Don't stop me because I'm Step Aside. Those are issues that are being debated. It's not that we disagree on the policy. We agree on the policy.
But the ANC has been unequivocal in saying that they want this resolution scrapped. So how can you say that there's consensus?
I don't think it was KZN. But let me say, there are many in there now in the commission that are saying, let's strengthen it, let's fix it, let's be consistent. So we will see later this evening. You might find that there is no resolution to scrap.
So when you say you don't think it was KZN, explain it to me in the way that you understand it, because clearly you and I are not reading from the same book.
I heard somebody say scrap, but it was not someone from KZN. I don't know, maybe they said it somewhere, but let's allow the debate. It will conclude this evening.
But Mr. Mashatile, you were in KZN this past weekend.
Yeah, that's why I didn't hear somebody say that when I was there.
Mr. Mdolo said it.
Well, I was not there when he said it. I haven't heard him.
But you're aware of the comments.
I know that he also was concerned that Step Aside should be looked at. And he's there in the commission now debating.
It's critical to this idea of the ANC being able to renew itself. Yeah. Because ultimately it speaks to what accountability in the party looks like. Because if there isn't agreement on how individuals are held accountable, it continues to weaken even the existence of bodies like the Integrity Commission of the ANC. And it's something that you're reflecting on a little earlier.
In fact, we are strengthening it. There's a call that we should strengthen the Integrity Commission.
How?
They want to have more resources. They also want to have another body that looks at appeals. We are busy looking at how we can help that. So we don't want the Integrity Commission to be weaker. We want it to be stronger. And by the way, there are people who have been dealt with in line with the issues of Step Aside. So it's not like we're not acting. Some comrades have been suspended. So we are taking action where we realize that people have transgressed. And we must do it consistently. We're not going to go back.
What do you see as the role of the Integrity Committee going into the future? Because how we've seen it being used by ANC members previously is that they're almost treated as a court of law. That if somebody is implicated in wrongdoing, They go before the Integrity Commission. They come out and say, well, I've been cleared by the Integrity Commission, so I'm good to go.
There are others who believe so, but you know, the Integrity Commission is there to point to wrongdoing and issues that they think are affecting the image of their organization. They are not a court of law. They don't prosecute. They don't find people guilty. They are just saying to you, look, this allegation against you are not right for the organization. Please step aside. They are not saying you are guilty. They say step aside and go and resolve those problems. So the organization is free to proceed with its proper integrity. And that's where we must help our comrades. When we say step aside, we are not saying we are punishing you. We are saying please give us an opportunity to move ahead without affecting the image of this organization.
Why would it be so bad to punish people who are bringing the name of the organization into disrepute?
There are other procedures to punish them.
Such as?
The disciplinary committee.
How many members of the ANC have gone to the disciplinary committee in the last term, since the last time you've gathered?
Many of them. But remember, disciplinary committees issues are not being published because we must respect people's rights. They are appearing as we speak, many of them.
Such as?
I'm not supposed to mention names. Let's leave it there. There are many who are undergoing disciplinary processes.
Of course, the reason why I say this is because we recently had the Zondo Commission of Report come out with its final findings. A lot of the senior members of the ANC, you have quite a number of names there of individuals who've been fingered, and yet the ANC seems to still say we need to find a way of processing this report. What is there to process?
Remember, we were fingered ourselves by the Zondo Commission as the party and our members. We then appointed a committee headed by Comrade Jeff Hadebe to say, look at those issues, come back and say to us, how do we deal with them? So they have now done that work. In fact, they've come back to the NEC and say, this is how we think we should deal with this, but we will take it to the NEC, and at the conference here, we are discussing exactly that.
So what is the proposal now about how to deal with it?
That we need to look at who is fingered, what are the issues, and make sure that the resolution of the commissions are not hindered, are being implemented. So we are not going to shield our members. If the Zondo Commission say, we think such a member of the ANC must be charged by authorities, law enforcement authorities, that must take its course. The person must be charged.
It feels like it's kicking the can down the road. Why is it taking so long?
No, remember, I'm not going to sit at Luthuli House and drag someone to the police. If the commission say you must be charged, the police must come and fetch you, not me.
I was asking more about the role of the party in that journey of accountability, but we'll pause it there. We'll continue the
party allows you to go and be charged. They are not going to stand on the way.
No, but the party doesn't have a say whether or not you're charged. That's the law.
It shouldn't. That's why the party doesn't stand before the law enforcement, or the party says we will not interfere. All
right, Mr. Mashatile, we're going to continue the conversation in a moment. We're in conversation with the Treasurer General of the ANC. We continue our coverage at the ANC's policy conference. Tonight I'm in conversation with the Treasurer General of the organization, who's also acting as the Secretary General of the ANC, and it's Paul Mashatile. So, Mr. Mashatile, just to wrap up on this issue of discipline. So what is happening now with what happens with the findings of the Zondo report and the ANC members that have been implicated? I'm not talking about the legal processes that have to unfold or those that involve the criminal justice system, but from a party perspective, how are you going to be dealing with those members?
We are looking at those issues as well. One of the things that we did was to say, what does the Zondo Commission say about our policies and the way we operate? Because they've also said something about those. So the committee led by Comrade Jeff is looking at Is there a policy we need to change? Are there structures that needs to be rearranged, whether in the party or in the caucus, in parliament or legislatures? Are there people who have brought the party into disrepute? Because if they are, then our processes also kick in. So the committee is doing that.
How is that still a question when the Zondo Commission clearly names individuals that some of which are senior members of the ANC? How are you still asking if they have brought the party in disrepute when the Zondo Commission has already made adverse findings against them?
You have to have your own process in the party.
It sounds like you're tiptoeing around the issue.
No. Remember, one of the reasons why people lose court cases is because you don't follow your processes. You must be clinical and seem to have followed your process. Because when people go to court, they mustn't say, well, the ANC has never called me. They just suspended me on the basis of the Zondo report. But in terms of the process of the ANC, I was supposed to be called.
So as it stands, you still don't know how you're going to be managing that issue, because it sounds like it needs to be managed.
We have a committee working on it.
So they still don't know yet how to proceed?
Oh, they've already met. They are looking into the issue. We'll give you a feedback quite soon. They are far down the line looking into the matter.
One of the questions yesterday that I put to Thabang Makwetla, because this morning you talked about the fact that there were still discussions on this issue of the balance of forces.
Yeah.
And it's an important one for the organization. And I want to deal specifically with the aspect of where the greatest risks for the party lie. And there's been a deterioration in the stability of the country, especially when we look at the July unrest last year. It's something that your own documents acknowledge. But perhaps the thing to highlight here is the fact that you highlight that these counter-revolutionary forces are also coming from within the ANC as an organization. Now, when you put that out to members, how are you expecting them to deal with it? So what do you want this conference to come to when it comes to dealing with those that have supported actions that your party describes as having been counter-revolutionary and even wanting to overthrow a democratically elected government?
Well, I think it's important that our members must know that there's always a threat of counter-revolution. They must keep their eyes wide open, because there are people in the party who will come with nice slogans, but in fact their agenda is different. So we need to say to our members, this is the program of the ANC and the alliance broadly. When we hear people saying this, please know that that's not where we're going.
When they're saying this, what is this?
Yeah, remember there are some people who tell people that, oh, you know, this leadership is not radical enough. You know, we need radical economic transformation. They forget that, in fact, in the 54th National Conference, we adopted a resolution that says we must implement radical socio-economic transformation, not just radical economic transformation. Why do they choose one part and they pull members of the ANC and say, well, we are more radical, not those guys, follow us? And we are saying, no, watch out. These people don't have interests of the organization at heart, because they lost in conference.
And some of those people include the suspended Secretary General of this organization.
Well, let's not talk about him. Let's just say
but I'm building on what you are saying, because you say individuals.
Yeah.
Now I'm giving it a name and a face.
Yeah, that's fine. You can, but I don't want to deal with names. I'm just saying there are comrades who are behaving in a particular way that sways members of the ANC away from the correct path. And we need to, even through this policy conference, to show them which one is the right path. It's the path of proper policies that we will adopt here, and proper programs that we will adopt here. there are those who continue to criticize us. No, this NEC is weak, this NEC is not doing this, where are the resolutions? There's a reason, for instance, that some of the resolutions have not been adopted. I'll give, for example, the issue of land. You will recall that when the ANC went to Parliament, we needed 2/3 majority to deal with the issue of expropriation of land. We don't have 2/3. So we must go and win elections. If you don't have 2/3, you need it from other parties. If they don't agree, you would remember the EFF came with their own version of expropriation of land and say, we don't agree with you. We didn't have 2/3. So if we come here and comrades are saying, yeah, your leadership does not want to do it, they must tell us, how must we do it? So I'm making that example.
Is it difficult to bring the party together in a climate where you talk about a group that is calling for radical economic transformation, and that is the very same group that would be critical of some members of the NEC, including the president, because they believe he's been captured by white interests? So the way in which members of the ANC right now analyze the economic problems of this country and the subsequent solutions to these problems is very different. So how do you bring those two groups together? Is it even possible?
Well, we are trying here in the police conference to bring those views together. You know, the reality in this country is that, yes, there are a number of things that have not moved faster than we should have. So when comrades come and say, but look, this resolution, you know, you should have implemented already, the NEC must accept and say, yes, we're going to try and move faster to ensure that we do these things. But it's not correct to say the NEC is not interested in implementing resolutions. There are challenges. There are resolutions that even came before the 2017 conference that have not been implemented because of challenges. That's why you always need a policy conference to review and really find out what the problems are. And then we are able to find a solution. So we are trying to bring these extreme views together.
The biggest challenge for the ANC is perhaps not what happens within the quarters of the party, but it's what happens out there with the rest of South Africans. One of your aims is to arrest the decline of support for your organization. How are you going to do that? Do you think it's even possible? There are people that have written the party off for the 2024 elections. Some are predicting, well, the ANC is going to go below 50%.
We are aware of that. And that's why we do everything in our power to take the ANC back to the people. We have said to our members, make sure that your branches don't deal with internal issues, but with the issues affecting the people. Go out there. If people have a problem of water, deal with it together with the municipality. If there's a problem of land, deal with it together with the government. If there's a problem of unemployment, work with the government so that we can help people. So let's not spend time on deciding who should be the branch chairman, but let's spend time to say, how do we work with the municipality here to ensure that there's employment opportunities? That's how the ANC is going to regain its ground. When people say, oh, they are here working with us, we're addressing these things together, not that we'll have solutions overnight, but they want to see us there.
Mr. Mashatile, Monday morning when you wake up, you look back at this conference, what is the one thing that you would point to that would point to this success, this conference having been a success?
I'll be happy on Monday to say members of the ANC from all over the country got together, reviewed policies, found out where the challenges are, the problems are, came up with solutions, and they have gone to their provinces to implement. They never fought. They are working as a united team, and they are finding solutions, and they are prioritizing the people of this country.
All right, so let's leave it there for tonight. That is the Treasurer General of the ANC. So what we're expecting to happen, as you heard later on in the evening, Mpho, is that the commissions that have been dealing with the various subjects are going to be giving feedback. We'll get some of the head of those commissions to come on air to explain exactly how those debates have been taking place behind the scenes, and also just if there are any significant changes when it comes to the kind of policies that members that are contributing to this conference feel the party needs to be going in.